Once upon a time in a faraway land, there lived a young girl named Cinderella. She lived with her father and her stepmother, who was very mean to her. The stepmother always made Cinderella do all the housework, and she was not allowed to go to the fancy parties that were held in the kingdom. One day, a royal invitation arrived. The king was holding a huge ball, and all the eligible young ladies were invited. Cinderella's stepmother and her two daughters got all dressed up and went to the ball. But Cinderella was left at home to clean the fireplace. As Cinderella sat by the fireplace, brushing the soot off the old chimney, she began to cry. A tiny voice then said, "Why are you crying?" Startled, Cinderella looked around to see a little mouse wearing a silk dress. Then more tiny voices said, "We're the king's mice. We've been turned into mice by an evil spell. Can you break the spell before the big ball?" "Of course I can," said Cinderella. And so the mice led her to a nearby field where they had hidden a pumpkin carriage. "Oh, how beautiful!" cried Cinderella. But she knew that she didn't have a fancy dress to wear inside the palace. Just then, a brown rat popped out from behind the pumpkin carriage and said, "Don't worry, Cinderella, we have a dress for you." The rats then took Cinderella to their underground home, where all the animals had been turned into household items. There was a beautiful blue ball gown, some sparkling slippers, and a golden crown. The animals had somehow managed to preserve these items from the evil witch's spell. Cinderella put on the beautiful dress, but she knew that she could not stay at the ball too long, because the spell would only last until midnight. So, Cinderella got into the pumpkin carriage with the mice, and off they went to the palace. As the carriage approached the palace, Cinderella became very nervous. She had never been to a party before. Suddenly, one of the mice said, "Don't be afraid, Cinderella, just follow my lead." When they arrived at the palace, the mice scurried down the chimney, while Cinderella waited on the other side of the window. Peeking inside, she saw a magnificent sight. All the important people in the kingdom were there. The king and queen were in fine clothes. There was dancing and delicious food everywhere. Then, one of the mice poked its head out of the chimney and said, "It's your turn now, Cinderella." Taking a deep breath, Cinderella walked through the open window and into the ballroom. All the guests stopped talking and stared at her. Never in their lives had they seen such a beautiful girl. The king was so surprised that he fell off his throne. And when the queen noticed that her husband was missing, she also rushed over to take a look at Cinderella. "Oh, she is even more beautiful than our daughter," said the queen. Then she took Cinderella by the hand and led her to the dance floor. "You must dance with me," she said, and so Cinderella danced with the queen, while the king had someone bring her a glass slipper to wear. Soon, all the young men in the room wanted to dance with Cinderella. She danced and talked with them until it was time for her to leave. As the clock struck 12, Cinderella remembered the spell would soon be broken. She hurried out of the ballroom, down the chimney, and into the waiting pumpkin carriage. The mice quickly changed the pumpkin back into a coachman, the dress back into rags, and the slippers back into old shoes. Then they all raced home as fast as they could. When they arrived home, Cinderella slipped on her old slippers and started to clean the hearth. Her stepsisters and stepmother came in and asked her, "What happened to your new dress?" "You look terrible." Cinderella just smiled and went back to cleaning the fireplace. Later that night, the king couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious girl he met at the ball. He called for his son and told him to get ready for a very important mission. "Go to the palace and find the girl who fits this glass slipper," he said. The prince took the slipper with him, and off he went. He went to all the houses in the kingdom, but the slipper did not fit anyone. Finally, he arrived at Cinderella's house and stepped inside. Cinderella's stepsisters tried to trick him, but the slipper fit her perfectly. The prince was overjoyed, and Cinderella and the prince rode off to the kingdom in a golden carriage. They were soon married and lived happily ever after. And all the animals in the kingdom were very happy for their friend Cinderella. The end.